Hey guys, welcome back to Commander Replay. This is my Baral multiplayer deck, and for those who know me, I'm not much of a mono blue player. I tend to play aggressive decks or decks that have a lot of creature kill. Red, white, and black are the colors that I usually play most, so mono blue is definitely outside of my comfort zone. But that being said, the very first game I played with Baral went very smoothly and was a very easy victory. We'll see what happens in the game coming up. First, let's take a quick look at Baral and the deck list. So, Baral Chief of Compliance. Baral is a 2-mana 1/3. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So, Baral is cost reduction and looting on a stick. Very good for spell-based decks. So next, I've arranged this deck by function. Each column is a different function within the deck. This first column here is mana ramp. So we have 8 pieces of mana ramp, which is okay. I'm probably being a little bit greedy there, but Baral does have built-in cost reduction. It is good to keep in mind that that is essentially mana ramp that we'll have access to all of the time. Next, this column is our creature interaction. Pognify, Rapid Hybridization, kill creatures, Curse of Swine to exile creatures, Cyclonic Rift, Ether Spouts to bounce things, Imprison in the Moon to also deal with creatures, also deals with lands and planeswalkers, Capsize to bounce problematic permanents. Next up, this is the card draw and tutor pile. So fairly standard blue tutors, Dig Through Time, Blue Sun Zenith, Flow of Ideas, Consecrated Sphinx, Recurring Insight, Jace Belryn to draw some cards. And then finally, we have what everyone's expecting, the pile of counterspells. So currently, this deck has 18 counterspells. When I first started thinking about building this deck, I really wanted to be up around 30. I really like the idea of having 1 and 3 cards be a counterspell. I don't actually know what the right ratio is. I'm going to need to play this deck more to really understand like how many counterspells you actually need versus other things to do. In that first game that I just played, I only ended up resolving 1 counterspell, except that I had Guile in play, so I ended up stealing Xenagos, God of Revels. Shortly after that, things got out of control really quick with Xenagos and Guile and all kinds of wackiness. The point is, I only resolved 1 counterspell in that match and won the game, so right now our odds of drawing a counterspell are roughly 1 in 5. I think that should be fine. While having 1/3 counterspell sounds like fun, it probably is too much, but I don't know, time will tell what the right ratio of cards in this deck is. This is a deck that I think is going to matter very heavily about the ratio of counterspells to threats to mana ramp to card draw. Everything's going to kind of have this pulling effect of if you want more of one, you're going to have to subtract some of the other sort of thing. Next up, we have the miscellaneous pile. So we have Collective Restraint and Propaganda, both of which are pillow fort effects, just so we don't get attacked like crazy. Then we have Telepathy. Telepathy is a fun card that I've been looking for the right home for quite a while. It only really fits in certain decks. It's really a pain for your opponents to deal with Telepathy. All of their cards get revealed and no one can really keep secrets from each other. You can see all of their plays. For us, I figure that'll be really helpful for knowing what to counter. If we know everything that our opponents have, we can make the most informed decision about which threats need to be countered. And then finally, this last pile is what I'm calling the finishers pile, but I use that term kind of loosely. Not all of these cards will finish the game exactly outright, but at least if they stay on the battlefield long enough, some way to possibly close out the game. So we have Rite of Replication. Kicked Rite of Replication has closed out many games. We have Talrand. So Talrand's something he'll need to stay in play for quite a while, and I'll need to cast quite a few spells before he can really close out a game. We have the Mindslaver Academy Ruins lock, so we can just keep recasting Mindslaver as much as we need to. We have Bribery. Bribery is anywhere between all right and outright wins the game, so kind of has that sliding scale depending on what kind of creatures your opponent has in their deck. Guile. Got Guile out in the first game, and it's amazing. I mean, it's a must-have if you're playing Baral. Whenever you counter a spell, it allows you to steal that spell, essentially. We have Metallurgic Summonings, I think will be very good. Been excited to play this card. Makes an XX colorless equal to the spell's mana cost that we cast. We have Clone Legion. Clone Legion is a great way to close out a game. We have Ugin. Ugin may not close out the game itself, but it'll create a board state where you can finish the game because you remove everyone else's threats. Blatant Thievery is just a mean card. Dawson of Perfection I'm interested in. Whenever you cast a spell, it makes wizards, and then if you control 3 or more wizards, you transform it, your wizards get bigger and have flying, and still has the ability to make wizards when you cast spells, so seems like it could be a reasonable closer for this deck. Eluvian Primordial, because you get all kinds of value out of it. Sometimes it closes the game, other times just great value. Rise from the Tides I'm excited about. Because we're playing a spell deck, we should be able to make quite a few tokens. And then finally, Vildakan Shackles, steal creatures with power less than the number of islands we control. So that's Baral. Again, my big question about going into a game with this deck is, what are the correct ratios of card draw to counter spells, to removal, to threats? I'm not entirely sure that mine is right, but we'll play through it and we'll see what happens. So let's check out some gameplay.